Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. So today we're taking a look at the EufyCam 2C Pro. So this is a standalone camera that you can buy, that you can basically add on to any existing setup that you have with the EufyCam series, so the ones that work with the home base. This is obviously, as it says, 180 days battery life, which is what you get on the smaller ones. But the benefit of the Pro version is that you actually get a 2K camera. Taking a closer look at the actual packaging. This is what you get, very familiar Eufy packaging. Gives you information about all the different types of person detection, human detection, animals, that kind of stuff, depending on what it actually supports. And then, as usual, you have the sort of sleeve over the top that you can put aside and then open it up. First, we're presented with all of the usual sort of paperwork. You get the templates for drilling in the mounts, and you get some information in terms of a quick start guide. Next to that, you get the actual camera itself. This looks very familiar if you've seen the previous 2Cs, and basically is going to be identical apart from the fact that it's got a 2K sensor rather than the 1080p sensor on the original one. Next to that, you have a charging cable. So before you set this up, you should always give it a full charge. Usually they come around about 80% charge. Most devices come about 80%. So technically you could actually throw them up, but it's best to actually give everything a full charge. You get the fixings for the actual mount itself, and then you get the additional mount. Now this particular one isn't magnetized, unlike the EufyCam 2s. You can't just stick this on with a magnetic mount. You do have to actually use the screw-in type, but the good thing is it is standard 1/4" thread. So if you don't want to use this particular mount, as in some of the locations I can't use this particular one, then you can actually get your own off Amazon, eBay, that kind of thing, relatively cheap. Right, taking a closer look at the camera itself, as you can see, it comes in some protective wrap. You do have one on the front. This is where you have all your sensors. So you have your motion sensors, you have your LED, and then you have your, there are your motion sensors. You have some LEDs for indicating when it's charging, when its motion's been detected. A lot of those you can actually turn off in the app if you choose to do so. You can see that the actual build of it is exactly the same. You do have a sync button on the top, just there. And at the bottom you have your charging port. If you wanted to, you could obviously wire this in via a solar panel. And you also have the speaker on the bottom there. The LEDs themselves, within close proximity, they're pretty good, but they're probably not going to light up a full driveway. For that, you're probably looking at one of the bigger units or just additional lighting if that's required. So what we'll do is I'll get this set up in the app, and we'll get it mounted, and then we'll do some comparisons compared to the normal EufyCam 2C as well as the EufyCam 2s, and we'll see what the image quality is actually like. Okay, so to add the camera, you just open up the app, you hit on the plus sign, and then you go down to the relevant camera. You then select the home base, be sure to be within 1 meter of the home base, and then hold the sync button on the camera itself. The camera will then beep, and you then hold it near the home base itself. That will play some chimes and it will sync with the home base. This doesn't take long, and you'll probably find it's connected pretty quickly. It then gives you the option to actually label it and set whatever your location is for the camera as well. I will be replacing the porch camera, the existing EufyCam 2. So for this one, I'm going to put a manual label. I'm going to call it the EufyCam 2C Pro. That way I know that this is the 2K version. Once that's done, if you follow it through, it will give you the option to set whatever your surveillance type is. So optimize your battery essentially, or have longer clips. And it then gives you another reminder just telling you to make sure that you give it a full charge before you actually permanently install this, to make sure that you're getting the best out of the battery life for the device itself. Okay, so let's take a look at some samples. So first up is the 1080p EufyCam 2. So this is the existing setup that I used to have, and now it's switched over to the 2C Pro. So as you can see, the angle where it's mounted is slightly different because obviously the shape of the camera is slightly different, but you'll notice that everything is slightly sharper. Not massively, but there is a noticeable difference. Once again, on the left is the 1080p, and on the right is the 2K image. Okay, so taking a look at a couple more video samples. So firstly, you can see a delivery. So as you can see, it tracks the person right from the point they basically get towards the house and then when they're out of frame. And in the next shot, this is one of the longer recordings. So this is one of the very few ones where it's actually recorded up to a minute. And generally what it tends to do is because the people disappear out of frame in my particular setup quite quickly, the video just ends. So even though I've got it set to a minute, it will literally just detect to see when motion stop or when the subject has left the frame, and then it will just stop recording. In this instance, because my son's still in the frame and still moving, it just continues recording for up to a minute. So overall, yeah, the performance is pretty good. The detections are really, really high because basically I've set this in such a way where I don't really have any zones essentially. So it's recording pretty much everything. So obviously my battery life is going to be a lot worse, but I do intend to hook this up to a solar panel so that way it will get continuous charging and the battery life should therefore be maintained. So overall, very, very happy with the 2C upgrade. I'll probably end up leaving this particular camera in this location rather than replacing the EufyCam 2 back in this particular setup. And finally, you can add this to HomeKit, and the final sample is showing the HomeKit version, and as you can see, it does soften the image slightly and reduces it back down to 1080p, but that option is there for you if you choose to use it. Okay, and to add this back to HomeKit, what you want to do is go to the actual home base that the camera is connected to. You go to General, you go to HomeKit Setup, you go to HomeKit Authentication, and then you hit Edit and you would enable or disable the actual camera itself. Now on mine, it does give me this little sort of warning saying HomeKit currently supports up to 4 cameras at the same time, but I can actually add, I believe it's 8 or 9 cameras and it still works perfectly fine. Obviously recording is still limited depending on your iCloud plan, but that's a whole separate issue because this is recording to the home base anyway. So if you were that bothered about where it's actually getting recorded, then you could set your main priority cameras to record to iCloud, and then the rest of them, they're recording to your home base anyway. So it doesn't necessarily make any difference with regards to the HomeKit secure video recordings. Anyway, that's it for this particular video. I will have more Eufy products coming in the near future. So if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any new and up and coming videos. And I really appreciate if you also give this video a thumbs up. And until the next one, thanks very much for watching.